Thanks for checking out this movie review video. So this is for the 1989 holiday horror film Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out. Now, normally I like to tell people every film is worth watching once just to make the decision if you like it or not. Make your own mind up on this one. I'm going to be a little bit different in my recommendation for this. I'm not a fan of this film at all, and I will get into, as in-depth as I can on this film, my review, with spoilers, but this may be on the shorter end, because there's really not that much here, because a lot of it feels very stretched for time, and I think it really is. There's a lot of stuff just, slogging along, and not a whole lot to talk about, because not a lot is actually happening. So I would say for people, if this is kind of a film of, if you're a completist, and you feel like if you watch the first of a franchise of films and you certainly feel like you need to watch all of them, then go ahead and do that. Or if you're just so curious as to how bad this film is, also go ahead and do that. But no, you're not really in for a fun time. I am going to rate this on a just overall film scale as well as a so bad it's good scale, but I don't even think it fits into the so bad it's good category in a good way. So anyway, here's the information on Silent Night, Deadly Night 3. Better watch out. Directed by Monte Hellman, who also did films Beast from Haunted Cave and Shudder, Avalanche Express, and Road to Nowhere. Haven't seen any of those. Written by Hellman as well as Rex Weiner, who also wrote Forgotten Prisoners, The Amnesty Files, and one episode of the show Miami Vice. And Arthur Gorson, who also wrote Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation, which I have not seen yet, obviously, but I will be doing a review for that one, as well as Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, which I believe is called Toymaker, or something like that. And I have heard that the fourth one is fun, so I'm looking forward to that. The original script for this film was apparently trashed and rewritten in a week. Well, let me tell you that it certainly appears that way and plays that way as a story and as a film in general. Like I said, it's bad. The one thing that really, really, really stands out about this film is the script is garbage. There's no, good story idea there from the get-go. There aren't any well-written characters. It's just bleh. I mean, it's a very, and I think I have this in my notes for the end, and I'll probably repeat it, but this is just a very lethargic film in so many ways. So many ways. Hellman had actually stated that this film is his best work. His best work, but not his best movie, apparently, is what he said. Now, I don't know what he means by that. Does he mean just directorially, how it looks? Because it looked fine. I mean, from a directing standpoint, cinematography standpoint, it actually looked fine. The performances aren't that great. The script is garbage. So maybe that's what he means by, his best work, as in, it looks pretty solid, but not his best work as far as, the movie goes, because, the story's crap, and the script is crap. So, getting into the actual events of the film, that shrill noise that lingers in the very beginning of the film becomes insanely annoying. Now, I understand that when they do stuff like that, they're looking to, cause an impact with the audience, and that's fine if you're doing it really quick. But to maintain it for as long as they do in the very beginning, when it's kind of like that waking nightmare that Laura's going through, it's way too much, it's way too shrill, and it really hurts people's ears. So that's a no-no. Don't do that. The music is terrible. That's another thing. It is that very, quintessential, late 80s, early 90s, awful, awful, awful music. Almost sounds like a made-for-TV movie type music. Really bad music, and it's terrible throughout the whole film. Bill Moseley with the plastic dome exposing his brain and kind of the blood all around it, I think is cool. That's a really nice, cool visual. But I kind of would have liked something else wrapped into that. Go a little more into detail about how he ended up that way. I mean, I know it's Ricky. It's Ricky Caldwell from Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. Well, Part 2. But get us a scene of him being operated on, them putting this whole thing together. I understand it's a cool visual, and it is a cool visual, but let's utilize it a little bit more. Let's give a little more backstory to that. The backstory that's basically there is just when Connolly and Newberry are talking in the car, which those conversations in the car are something else as far as boredom goes and random goes. But The backstory is just basically like, oh, it's Ricky Caldwell. He went on this murderous rampage. He got shot up, and Connolly believes he had been dead. But Newberry's like, no, I got his body for this experiment. And so, he doesn't even talk specifically about what's going on with the head situation or why he ended up having to do that. It's just like, we just accept that this is what science does to, like, revive people who are either already dead or close to death. Like, it's just weird. I don't know. And the other thing is, like, the fact that Bill Moseley's in this, cool. Like, he's awesome. I'm sure he did well with what he was told to do with this character and how the character was written, but you're getting someone like Bill Moseley who can bring really interesting and crazy characters and then just making him be as boring as possible. So you take all the Bill Moseley out of Bill Moseley in this film, which is just a terrible idea. And literally his character of Ricky is just like a zombie. So, like, why does it even matter that you got Bill Moseley? Well, I mean, he wasn't like a huge name back then, but you look at this now and you're just like, I mean, that could have been anyone. It doesn't even matter that it's Bill Moseley. But you'd assume that they would put someone in that role that they really want to do something good with the character. But the character was so bad that it didn't matter who you put in there, And I just, Moseley was wasted, unfortunately. You do sense that Laura has some sort of secret that she's hiding because she's not willing to tell Dr. Newberry that the Santa tries to kill her and that kind of waking nightmare that's going on. That really never even comes to fruition. I thought they were basically setting that up, that like she had some sort of hidden past or something specific she wasn't wanting to tell Newberry about for some reason. But it really amounts to nothing. And the fact that she didn't tell him about that and wasn't very forthcoming was really for no reason, which I guess that kind of fits with the whole script being trashed and rewritten within a week thing. There's a lot of those kind of like non sequiturs that just show up where it's just like, and then this for no reason, and then this for no reason. And you're just like, okay, that's just how it is. Big surprise, they do find a way to insert footage from the first Silent Night, Deadly Night film because they did that ad nauseum in the second film. So I don't know if that was supposed to be like kind of a funny nod to the fact that so much of the first film was used in the second one, like actual footage. I don't know if that was the case or they just felt like they needed to put that in there for rehashing. But if you're watching all three of these films within a week of one another, you get kind of sick of just seeing the same footage over and over again. At least I did. You can tell Newberry is one of these morally corrupt scientists / doctor types like in Reanimator. He really did actually also seem to be trying to channel Herbert West with his performance. I don't know if that was a point of reference for the actor or not, but it really does seem that way. There are these kind of flashes of like a Herbert West type thing. He definitely looks and kind of talks like a villain, which obviously he's kind of supposed to be a villain, but actually ends up turning out to be a little bit more ambiguous because it's not like he was actively doing anything terrible. It was just kind of the idea of taking a horrible, murderous person and bringing them back to life and then just kind of having that danger around. It turns more into this like, I'm trying to do something for science that can hopefully help people down the road, but oh, oops, I actually ended up doing something that ends up being worse for humanity at the moment, blah, blah, blah. It's happened in horror a lot and in other films. The attempts at humor in this film are terrible. Like, none of the humor lands, not even close. It's very cringeworthy, in my opinion, and you're just like, really? Let's just keep moving the film so that we can get to the end, please. Ricky kills the drunk hospital Santa and the receptionist, and you hope the gear is going to shift to follow him on this kind of bloody rampage, like you end up getting in the first film, like you end up getting in the second film. And he does that, but it's not so much of a like bloody rampage as it is a casual walk with some kills, and most of the kills kind of happen off screen. Sometimes you get a decent payoff where you see like the aftermath of the kill, like with the receptionist at the hospital with like the slit throat. Like that was fine, but why didn't we get more gore? Like that's my question. If you know the film is this bad, and I'm sure they knew that it's not a great film, go harder on the gore and you will make people a little bit more happy. But since it's kind of missing that aspect, it's just not that fun of a film, really. Unless people do think it's good for their so bad it's good scale, which for me it's not. As soon as Ricky hears the conversation Laura's having in the car with her brother and brother's girlfriend, and you can tell it's in his head because of how the voice sounds. You get that because of Newberry's experiments. Ricky and Laura are psychically linked. That was a good way of them not telling but showing. So that was one little bright moment within the film. And then I thought from there it would be more interesting, but it's really not. I mean, obviously he keeps going for Laura, but it's kind of left ambiguous. Like, is he really trying to kill her, or is he trying to connect with her because she's been in his head and now they're linked together, and maybe he feels so lonely and she's the only person who he really wants to be with? Is he in love with her now? Like, you don't know. Like, there's nothing further when there really should have been. And of course, a random person picks up Ricky with no hesitation as he's hitchhiking, even though he looks like he is an escaped patient and he has that weird exposed brain situation under that dome. Yeah, I mean, we knew that the person who picked him up was going to end up dying for sure, because that's how these films are. But the fact that someone would actually pick this dude up looking the way he was, and it also looked like the person had been working at the hospital based off the vehicle they were driving, I don't know. I don't know. It's just weird. I assume Newberry uses Ricky for his experiment because nobody had plans for him or wanted him. One of those things where he didn't have any family at that point within the second film, and he was dead, and who wants his body? So I guess he was like, oh, I'll take this body. I have some experiments that I have lined up. Let's do that. So Ricky in this one is triggered to kill by the color red and nothing involving naughty or nice, further showing how far they have moved away from the interesting aspect of the first and second films of these two individuals, Ricky and Billy, who have, seen this really horrible traumatic thing having to do with the Santa Claus imagery that happened to their parents, and then being at the orphanage and all that. And it's turned them into these totally broken individuals who can't necessarily help the fact that they're that way because of all the trauma and what the trauma's caused for them. Now, it's been a degradation from the first film because Billy really tries to keep it together. You kind of end up feeling for him even when he starts going on his killing spree. Then in the second film, Ricky, you're not really feeling that bad for him because it really seems he's more kind of like the serial killer, and he's really enjoying killing, and he even abandons the whole naughty versus nice morality. And then you get to this third film, and they just throw the whole naughty versus nice morality just out the window. And it's just about, he sees the color red, he kills. Kind of like a bull. Just like he's going to start killing people because he saw a red color. It's very basic. It's very unintelligent. And it takes all the heart kind of out of the entire franchise thus far. What the hell is this car phone conversation between Newberry and Connolly? It's so weird, it's almost like a commercial. The fact that they went on and on about this car phone that Connolly has, just a weird conversation. And the fact that it just keeps going and going and going. That's another indicator that the script was terrible and they were just trying to stretch it to reach about an hour and a half runtime, which is basically what the runtime is. So a lot of those scenes too, I think just about every single scene in the film feels like it's insanely stretched just to get to a certain runtime, and it's boring. It makes it unbelievably boring. I mean, I would say that this film is really only 20 minutes of story, really, and it's like an hour and a half. It's crazy. Are they concerned about Granny missing or not? Laura and her brother Chris and Chris's girlfriend, who I think Cheryl, was her name. They seem to kind of talk about really being concerned about Granny and wanting to find her, and then not really doing it. Best scene in the part where they're basically like, we should definitely find her. We should make sure she's not at the Oates' house. But then they were like, I don't think she would mind if we just like heated the food up and ate without her. Weren't you going to her house for a holiday celebration to eat food with her that she was making? And then you're like, she's missing. We're kind of concerned. But let's just go ahead and eat without her, and then we'll try and go find her. Terrible script. Terrible. Ricky's arm coming through the door actually did give me a little bit of a jump. I did not expect that to happen at that point. When his arms, first his one arm and then his other arm, busts through the front door and grabs Cheryl. I didn't see that coming. So that actually was a good jump scare, especially because there weren't jump scares prior to that. So that's the way to do jump scares. Don't have jump scares, and then way further into the film, hit with one jump scare and it'll actually work. So that's a plus for this film. A very small plus, but it's a plus. Well, you don't feel bad for Newbury when he gets stabbed. He made a very bad decision in this film to, take a very crazed murderer and bring him back to life and just think that you could keep him in a coma and learn things from his dreams, basically. It's still not clear what he was looking for with his research because the writing is so poor. He never fully says, like, what was the real point and what was actually going to be good for society in this. It kind of seemed more of like I think this is something I can do, so I'm just going to do this. And this is all for me. Shouldn't Laura's psychic ability have come in handy at some point in this film? She's supposed to be linked to Ricky, yet can't know what he's up to. One of the biggest things is if she's psychically linked with Ricky, wouldn't she know where he is or have a vague idea where he is or have some sort of link to him that would help her in like manipulating him or tracking him or knowing who he is so she could get away from him or something? And you have this psychic ability that is, featured very prominently and they go very hard at very early in the film, and then you don't even really use it. It's just this, you don't use it. I mean, the only thing it's really there for is to, after he escapes from the hospital, to get Ricky to Laura without needing directions. That's it. So they missed a big opportunity to actually use the psychic thing. I don't think the whole psychic aspect of it was a good idea in the beginning. But if you're going to do it, like, use it. Use it in more than one measly way like they do. I like how Ricky just cooperates and impales himself on the sharp stick that Laura has. That's another thing. Like, once again, this film is just, like, so terrible. That, like, she literally is just, like, there, and he just, like, throws himself down on her sharp stick to kill himself. And I was just like, yeah, and this film goes out with a whimper, like I kind of assumed it would. That tracks. Excellent parting words from Newbury in the very end of this, where he says, "Don't be stupid" to Connolly. Yes, you should have taken your own advice there, buddy. And this obviously is going back to the conversation. Well, one of the many boring conversations he and Connolly had in the car where he was talking about not wanting people to be stupid. I don't know, like this really terrible life mantra that he has. So his parting words for Connolly are, "Don't be stupid." Sure, not like, "Tell my wife I love her," or "Carry on my research," or "Someone can carry on my research," or "I kind of regret some of what I did." No, it's "Don't be stupid." He might as well have just said something about the car phone, to be honest. Bring that full circle. And Ricky popping up in a tux to say, "And a Happy New Year" in the end. Why? Why are we doing this? I understand Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, so you felt this urge to put the Happy New Year in there, but him in a tux, Ricky in a tux, just saying Happy New Year? I don't know, but I guess it fits. It fits with the rest of this film. There are a bunch of really drawn-out scenes that make you think there wasn't nearly enough story to fill the time. Yes, I already talked about that. Bears repeating. Script is pretty bad. The acting is quite bad as well. Nothing good here. A lot of the kills aren't shown, and with a lackluster film like this, that's really all that could add some sort of interest. Yes, I already said that. And then the last thing, Bears repeating. Just like Ricky in this film, the film feels very lethargic. The pace at which the film moves is the pace at which Ricky moves throughout this film, and the brain activity that he has is the brain activity that is triggered in the audience of this film. Not so great. But hey, people warned me. They said this is a stinker. It's just even more of a stinker than I thought it would be. So, I said I'm going to rate this in two ways. So, as a straight up film in like the history of films, this is a half star. This is 1/2 of a star. And as far as a so good it's bad film, it's a 1 star. I mean, I can only bump it up a half star because there's really not much of any entertainment value to this film. Sure, you could potentially put it on and just make fun of it with some friends, but you're just going to get bored. Like, you really are just going to get bored with this one. So I would like to hear if there are any differing opinions out there. So go ahead and put some comments. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Are you in the middle? I really want to hear from someone who actually enjoys this, because maybe I'm missing something that there is to enjoy about this film. And, you know, like I said, like I say all the time, you know, people's opinions are very different with horror, and if other people like this film, good. I mean, there are people who like every single film that's been out there, and there are people who hate it. So we just have differing opinions, and that's cool. So let's talk about them. Do me a quick favor, though. Hit subscribe if you can, and you can. It is quick, painless, costs you $0, and goes towards motivating me to keep these videos going. And after a film like this, I need motivation. I will say that. No, actually, I'm very excited to get to Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 and 5 and cap this off. And I actually have a playlist on my channel for all the films, so you can just run through them if you want to. Yeah, and it's going to be fun. So do me that favor, hit subscribe. Also hit the notification bell button, because then you'll know when I'm putting up new review videos. And if you can watch them relatively soon after they hit the internet, then it does help generate even more views. It kind of boosts the visibility of the review. So that would be great. But regardless, I really do thank you for taking your time to check this video out. And until next time, keep it brutal.